Hey everyone! In today's current landscape, remote work is becoming more and more normal. With this change in how our company is structured, we must also adjust how we secure our systems. In today's presentation, we will go over some cybersecurity basics, common failures, and a few of the principles we must include in our security strategy. The CIA Triad is a model used by cybersecurity professionals to help develop and establish policies. CIA stands for confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Confidentiality is regarding our efforts in keeping private data private. Integrity is about ensuring our data is trustworthy and free from tampering. Availability is how we keep our systems, networks, and applications functioning the way they should. When all three categories are met, our company is stronger and equipped to handle incidents. Weak passwords are one of the most common failures in cybersecurity. A weak password is susceptible to brute force attacks and other password cracking strategies. Weak passwords put our confidentiality at risk and give hackers an opportunity to harm our data integrity. Enhanced password requirements should be put into place to ensure no weak passwords are being used. Improper use of Wi-Fi is another common failure in cybersecurity. Although you will be working from home and using your own internet instead of the company's, there are still ways we can better protect our network. One way we can increase our security is by having all employees connect to our VPN before being able to access domain information. If you're connecting to public Wi-Fi, you are much more susceptible to data theft and should avoid sensitive activities. This puts our data confidentiality and integrity at risk. Using hotspot from your own mobile device is a safer alternative. In order to avoid becoming the next failure in our company's cybersecurity, you must be vigilant towards fraud. Many cyber attacks depend on simple human errors that you can avoid. By following the principle of minimizing trust, you can avoid these attacks. These include emails, phone calls, and text messages trying to trick you into giving attackers access to our systems. You can usually spot a fraud due to poor grammar, generic messages, and suspicious links. If they gain access to our systems, confidentiality, integrity, and availability could all be at risk. While you're working at home, it is important to ensure that you approve all software updates you are prompted to complete. Many of these we have already set up to automatically occur, but if you do not complete manual updates that you're prompted to complete, you'll be vulnerable to attack. Do not delay in completing these updates, or you will put our company's data confidentiality and integrity at risk. Cybersecurity failures often come as a result of poor cloud security parameters. Some of the popular cloud service providers come equipped with security features. One we should ensure ours includes is encryption for any sensitive information we're keeping on the cloud. That way, if hackers do gain access to our data, they won't be able to read it. We must also adhere to the least privilege principle, only giving users access to our cloud when it is necessary. Adopting a zero trust model will involve continual verification of all who have access. These steps will protect the confidentiality and integrity of our data. Multi-factor authentication is a simple tool that can be used to enhance the security of our organization. An example of this would be prior to logging onto our VPN, users would get a one-time code texted to them, and they'd have to enter it to finish logging in. This second layer of security makes it significantly more difficult for hackers to corrupt a user account. If we wish to create the most secure network possible, we must teach our employees how to do their part. It is our job to create a culture of security awareness through training. It cannot just be a one-time thing. It must continually take place as attacks evolve. No matter how secure our software and hardware is, employees can always be a weak spot that allows a breach. Training them up will help ensure that our data confidentiality, integrity, and availability stay how we want. While employees might be working at home, we must still consider physical security. With less foot traffic in the office, it should be easier to restrict access to our routers and servers. With employees being switched to remote work, we should deactivate badges that allow them into our buildings. It is also important to note that we should never be physically writing down usernames, passwords, or other identifying information. The first design principle I'd like to emphasize the need for is least privilege. Whether we're in the office or working remotely, this should be our priority. Granting users the minimum amount of rights needed to complete their job reduces the damage that can be had from accident or error. Limiting the programs they have access to also makes it easier to complete audits when a user misuses them. Simplicity of design is a principle for us to focus on because not all of our employees or customers are tech savvy. We should make our security features as easy as possible for them to get used to. We want them being productive and doing their job, not struggling to log into our network because we made it too complicated. Network isolation is a principle where you separate network assets into lower and higher security levels. Typically, enterprises will separate workstations, printers, and phones onto their own individual networks. This allows us to implement lateral security controls needed to stop an attacker where the initial foothold was gained. Complete mediation is the fourth and final principle I would like to recommend today. It is a principle that requires every access to each object to be checked for authority. If a system only checks permissions to an object once, it is much easier for attackers to exploit it. The continual checking of authority will help us maintain data confidentiality and integrity. Using some of the recommended security principles can help us create a more secure network environment. By implementing these techniques, we can do our best to avoid some of the common cybersecurity failures gone over today. When we cover all three categories of the CIA triad, our systems are more secure and we are better prepared for potential attacks. If you have any questions about the material gone over today, do not hesitate to reach out to me, and thank you for your time.